Science claims the Earth is filled with solid rock, molten mantle, and a core of burning iron. We are taught this as absolute fact, yet the deepest hole humanity has ever managed to drill, the Kola super deep borehole and later the Z44 Chavo well, barely scratched 7.6 miles into the crust. To put that into perspective, if the Earth were an apple, we haven't even pierced the skin. So what exactly is hiding in the remaining 4,000 miles beneath our feet? During the drilling of the Kola borehole in the Cold War, an urban legend emerged that terrified the world. Workers claimed that when they lowered a heat-resistant microphone into the 7-mile deep abyss, they didn't hear the shifting of tectonic plates. Instead, they heard the horrifying, agonizing screams of millions of human voices echoing in the dark. They called it the Well to Hell. While officially debunked as a myth, it raised a chilling question. What if the underground is not solid? What if it is hollow? The Hollow Earth hypothesis proposes that our planet contains a massive, unfathomable interior space. While the modern scientific community has dismissed this notion entirely, this concept has refused to die. It recurs in ancient folklore, classified military conspiracies, and whispered legends. It suggests a world within our world, complete with its own atmospheric conditions, inner sun, and perhaps its own inhabitants. Chapter 2. Agartha, Shambhala, and the Subterranean Origins. Long before modern science mapped the globe, isolated ancient civilizations, separated by vast oceans and millennia, shared the exact same terrifying memory. They believed they were not the first ones here, and that the true masters of this planet lived below. In ancient times, the idea of a subterranean realm was heavily intertwined with human origins. We see this in the Greek underworld, the Nordic Svartalfheim, and the Jewish Sheol. But in Tibetan Buddhism, it is not a myth of the dead. It is a physical location. Deep within the Himalayas, monks have long guarded the legend of Agartha, a subterranean network of golden cities and its capital, Shambhala. It is said to be a realm of supreme enlightenment, illuminated by an emerald inner sun accessible only through hidden, forbidden cave networks. Across the globe, Celtic mythology speaks of Ireland's gate to hell, a cavern called Owainagat, where bizarre, unearthly creatures would emerge into the moonlight. Across the Atlantic, the indigenous tribes of the Americas, from the Mandan and Apache to the Hopi and the mighty Inca Empire, all share a chilling ancestral origin story. They do not claim to have descended from the stars. Their legends state clearly, their forefathers crawled out from a subterranean world inside the earth through deep sacred caves to escape an ancient cataclysm. Why would unconnected empires from Siberia to Peru share the exact same impossible memory? Chapter 3. The Obsession of Geniuses. This idea didn't stay buried in mythology. In 1692, the brilliant astronomer Edmund Halley, the man who discovered Halley's Comet, put forth a heavily researched hypothesis. He calculated that the Earth consisted of a hollow shell about 500 miles thick, containing two inner concentric shells and an innermost core, roughly the size of Mars and Venus. To explain anomalous compass readings and the glowing aurora borealis, Halley proposed that these spheres rotated at different speeds and that the luminous atmosphere inside was leaking out at the poles. He firmly believed this inner world was inhabited. In 1818, an American Army officer named John Cleves Sims Jr. took this obsession further. He declared that the Earth was hollow and open at the poles, featuring massive 1,400-mile-wide entrances. Sims tirelessly campaigned for a military expedition to the North Pole to sail directly into the Earth. His arguments were so convincing that U.S. President John Quincy Adams actually indicated approval to fund the venture, before his successor, Andrew Jackson, shut it down. But the dream of finding the entrance never died. Chapter 4: The Secret Diary of Admiral Byrd. The most explosive piece of the Hollow Earth puzzle occurred in the 20th century, involving one of the most decorated explorers in American history, Admiral Richard B. Byrd. In February 1947, Byrd flew a mission over the North Pole. According to official records, it was a standard exploratory flight. But according to a secret diary allegedly kept by Byrd, something reality-shattering happened. As he flew over the frozen Arctic wasteland, his instruments began to spin wildly. The compass fluttered out of control. Suddenly, the ice below him vanished. It was replaced by green, lush valleys, massive forests, and a flowing river. The temperature gauge spiked to 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Looking down, Byrd claimed he saw an animal that had been extinct for 10,000 years. A massive, yet woolly mammoth grazing in the brush. But it got worse. His radio went dead. Out of the clouds, bizarre disc-shaped aircraft flanked his plane. They bore strange markings like swastikas, but ancient. His controls were hijacked by an unseen force, and his plane was safely landed in a glowing crystal city. Byrd claimed he was escorted to meet the master of this subterranean world, who warned him that humanity's use of atomic weapons would lead to our absolute destruction. Upon returning to the surface, Byrd was allegedly interrogated by top security forces, ordered to remain silent, and his findings were locked away in classified black files. Chapter 5: Operation High Jump and the Nazi Retreat. Byrd's encounter brings us to the darkest chapter of this conspiracy: the Nazi connection. Before their downfall in World War II, Hitler and his top officials were deeply obsessed with the occult and the Hollow Earth. They believed the Aryan race originated from deep underground. In the late 1930s, the Third Reich sent heavily funded expeditions to Antarctica, establishing a massive secret base known as Station 211, or Neuschwabenland. They weren't looking for oil. They were looking for the southern entrance. In 1946, immediately after the war, the US government launched Operation High Jump. They sent a massive naval armada to Antarctica led by none other than Admiral Byrd. It included an aircraft carrier, submarines, and 4,700 heavily armed troops. And the official story was that it was a training exercise. But conspiracy theorists argue they went to wipe out the remaining Nazi forces who had allied with highly advanced inner Earth entities. The operation, scheduled for 8 months, was abruptly aborted after just a few weeks. Rumors leaked of heavy casualties and aircraft being destroyed by advanced flying discs that emerged from the freezing water. Chapter 6: The Shaver Mystery and the Darrow. While the military fought in the ice, a different kind of terror gripped the public. In the late 1940s, a man named Richard Shaver wrote to the science fiction magazine Amazing Stories. He claimed that he had discovered a horrifying truth while working as a welder. He began hearing voices through his welding equipment, telepathic broadcasts from underground. Shaver claimed the Hollow Earth was filled with a honeycomb of caves inhabited by the Darrow, detrimental robots, a degenerate mutated race left behind by ancient aliens. These Darrow possessed mind control machines which they used to torment surface dwellers, causing accidents, madness, and wars. When the magazine published his story, something terrifying happened, and the editors were flooded with tens of thousands of letters from ordinary people across America. They weren't writing to mock Shaver. They were writing to say, "I hear the voices too." The panic was so real that the magazine had to eventually shut down the story. Chapter 7: The Harsh Scientific Truth. Despite these captivating, horrifying legends, modern science stands firm. Seismic wave data, how vibrations travel through the planet after an earthquake, directly contradicts a hollow sphere. The waves prove the Earth is filled with a solid crust, a highly pressurized liquid outer core and a solid iron inner core. Furthermore, physics destroys the concept. A planet-sized hollow shell could not achieve hydrostatic equilibrium. It would instantly collapse under its own massive gravity, crushing anything inside. And if it didn't collapse, Newton's shell theorem proves that gravity on the inside of a hollow sphere cancels itself out. Someone standing on the inner surface wouldn't be able to walk. They would be completely weightless, floating in the dark. Yet the legend survives, and it survives in books like Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, in movies and in our collective nightmares. Why? Because the unknown is terrifying. We lock our doors to protect ourselves from what walks on the surface. We watch the skies for threats from above. But deep down, humanity has always been afraid of the dark beneath our beds. The hollow earth might be scientifically impossible, but the fear it represents, that we are not alone and we are not in control, is very, very real.